Good morning. This past Christmas, I started working on a project. It's a foundation paper piecing project. Say that 10 times fast. And I was able to make it through the main point of the project, which is doing this image of a frog. And I got to a stopping point and just never picked it back up. There's just a little bit left in the project, and it's letters that go beneath the main image. And I'm hoping in the next couple days before work, I can just knock it out. Before and after work. Foundation paper piecing, or FPP. The only other project I've done with this technique is this tulip that I turned into a pencil case, and that was pretty fun and pretty simple once I got the hang of it. And after completing that project, my immediate thought was, okay, great, now I can do something a lot more complicated. And while that was ambitious, I do think it's correct. I think this is the type of technique where once you get the basics of it down, you can kind of do anything. And it just requires a little bit of confidence and just a little bit of delusion. Hi, baby. Do you want to hop up? I'm talking about my next project. Or I could just stay here and snuggle you against your will all day. Does that sound like fun? Or do you want me to start on the project? Leave you alone. Okay, I should get started on this, see how much I can get done before I leave for work today. Wish me luck. Do you want to see how it's done? So this is my pattern piece here, and I have 3 different sections, Y1, Y2, Y3. So to start, you always begin with the lowest number. So Y1 and Y2 is going to be my first join. I'm going to go through my little pile of pink, which I'm using instead of white here, and I'm going to pick out a piece that I think would be large enough to serve as Y2. Alright, this will work for Y2 because I want to account for seam allowance. When I first started doing this, I did not really prepare my pieces very much, and instead just cut a piece much larger than what I needed, and that really helped when I was beginning. Because it doesn't really matter what size this is or shape as long as it's bigger than the area I need. Okay, I have my little pieces picked out. So everything is done in the reverse, and this is pretty confusing. I had to watch a tutorial about 18 times to fully get it, and I really didn't get it until I just did it myself. So right now, I'm gonna line up Y2, the white color, on top, and I'm gonna put Y1, the red, on the bottom. And the way I'm lining this up is that when I sew along this line right here, that I'll be able to turn this around, open it up right at that line, and it'll line up with this, and the red should be where the red is over here, and the white should be where the white is over here. I was really confused about this concept at first, took a while to sink in, but the one thing that really did help was me lining it up the way I thought it went, holding it in place, and checking. Okay, great. Yep, they're in the right order. So now I'm just going to sew along this line with the shortest stitch length I have. Okay, great. I sewed along the seam, and when I flip it over, I can unfold it, and they'll be in their correct spots. Something I like to do as I go along is just trim the seam allowance here. I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch, a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch. Because on more complicated pieces, I won't get a chance to trim my seam, so I need to do it every single time I finish one. So I go ahead and open it up. If I was really detail oriented, I would press everything flat right now before adding my next piece, but I am not that thorough. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open it and press it with my fingers and look at my next piece here, which is Y3. Lining it up is honestly just kind of the hard part. You're going based on gut instinct, but I'm lining up my next red piece so that I can, let me hold it on the seam allowance here, flip it open, once I sew it down and just have a white stripe in the middle. Looks like I have it lined up pretty correctly. There's enough room for seam allowance here because you can see the little bits poking out. Sometimes holding it up to the sun can also be helpful just to make sure that you're actually going completely over the line that you're supposed to be sewing and you have enough seam allowance. You can kind of see the shadow of the rag coming through. Well, I super messed that up, so it looks pretty gross. Messing up one of these, by the way, super frustrating because of how teeny tiny the stitch length is. I'm going to trim my seam allowance. And it looks fine. Just ignore this corner that we're totally going to sew up anyways because it's in the seam allowance for when I join this piece to another piece. So this is another piece that I did. And these do not actually connect, but if they did, the pattern would basically tell you, all right, line them up, sew them, and you unfold it and it's one big piece. And that's basically how the whole thing just comes together, is making a bunch of tiny pieces and combining them into bigger pieces. I got a couple little pieces done, which is good. I'm going to leave this here because I want to work on it when I get back from work, but I got a bus to catch. The sun's about to set. It's the only time of day that we get any real light coming through our window. I took the long way home from work today and walked along. Like, there's a little bit of nature in between the bus stop I got off on and my apartment. So I walked around there for a little bit and saw these two deer in a stream. Oh, that made my day. I got a couple letters done before work and I got a couple letters done after work. And there's only so many letters, so I got them all done. Something I'm doing differently this time, as opposed to when I started the frog portion of this endeavor, is before I go and attach all of my pieces, I went ahead and used a large stitch length and went all the way around the perimeter of the little piece. My thought is this is going to make a big difference in my ability to sew these together, because it looked a little wonky when I did it on portions of the frog where some pieces were perhaps not as taut as they could be. I think it's just going to help me be a bit more accurate. So right now I have all these little pieces that I've done, and the next step is going to be combining these together to form a word. This was weirdly the hardest part on the frog. I did pretty well assembling the individual pieces here. When it came to attaching two blocks together, I really struggled because it's a lot harder to see the lines and exactly where you should be attaching, and Pippin is so distracting. I'm a bit tired at this point, so this is where it ends for today. I'm going to pick this up tomorrow after I've made dinner, done some chores, rested my brain cells, and accomplished another day of work. It's the afternoon. I have returned from work and I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like I could actually finish this thing by the end of the day. I have retrieved the most important tools, which is fresh bread from the bakery and my new favorite snack, freeze-dried strawberries dipped in chocolate. These are not cheap and I'm wondering if I could make them myself. I think I'm just gonna finish my snack, have a little dance party, and just do as much on the frog thing as I can, because maybe this is going to take longer than I thought. I'm gonna be real, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this beyond this point, and it's probably gonna live on my yellow cabinet for a while. My husband has requested that the frog be framed, however, we don't really have room to stick any more framed art in the home. We're full. And I kind of want to stick it on a thing, but for now, it'll just live here. If you are unfamiliar, this is the Portland frog. In October 2025, during Portland protesting at the ICE facility, the Portland frog quickly rose to be a symbol of what we're calling tactical frivolity. As a symbol, it is challenging hate and violence with silliness and love and joy. So since the early ICE protesting in 2025, the Portland frog has since become a global protesting phenomenon. There are plenty of news articles on the Portland frog, so if you want to do your own research and learn more, it's definitely an interesting topic, but those are the main highlights. The next agenda item in my crafting endeavors is finally finishing up the Polaroid sweater I have been altering for ages for my mom. And I've been avoiding it for one very key reason, which is having to do sweater surgery on a sweater that has hundreds of stitches in circumference. That sounds extremely tedious and like it's going to take a couple hours, and I just have not been in the mood for it. And at this point, I need to accept I'm never going to be in the mood for it. It's just not something I enjoy doing, but it needs to be done. So I just need to sit down and do it. Wish me luck. So this is the project from which I can't escape. If you're newer here, I'm going to sum up the lore real quick. This was the second sweater I ever made. It is self-designed, sorry, no pattern. And last year I made a 2.0 version of this, trying to fix some of the issues that I had with this original version, trying to make the second one fit me a lot better. It worked. I love it, so I have no use for this anymore. But my mom talked about how much she wanted me to make her one of these, so I asked, hey, would you want the original one if I altered it to make it a lot longer for you? Because this was extremely cropped, even for me. And during my mission to lengthen this sweater, unfortunately, I ran into an issue, and it's not even a color issue, it's a yarn weight issue. The yarn I use for this is Drops Alpaca, and when I started working on the body again, I had to completely unravel the whole body, it's a long story, and start again from the top. And one ball of yarn that I used was slightly lighter in weight than the others, and it was slightly less fluffy than the rest. And the difference is so subtle, I have to go into the brightest direct light to even see it, but seeing it in direct light, it bothers me just enough to want to fix it. This is the line right here. So the first 4 inches or so under this blue stripe here is a little bit thinner, a little bit wider, and therefore it has the illusion of looking a little bit darker than the rest of the body. So I'm gonna need to do sweater surgery. I need to do some more stuff, but I can't even think about that right now. We're gonna start with step 1. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep procrastinating on it and it's never gonna get done. I was hoping to have it completed by Thanksgiving of 2025. That did not happen, so we're gonna aim for July of 2026. Keep your fingers crossed for me, y'all. Do you ever just have a project where everything that could go wrong does go wrong? This is that project for me, but it's okay. I'm gonna get it done. To start off my sweater surgery, I'm going to unpick the top round of the white section. Now I'm thankful in moments like this that I don't leave in my ends until I'm completely done with my projects. So I got to start unpicking from just the white yarn end already there. Unpicking this whole round took me about an hour. Now it's typically recommended to use long corded needles or lifelines to make this process more secure, but the yarn I used is so grabby, I just skipped this step entirely to make things easier on myself. Now, since I'm not using a lifeline or needle cords, I do need to be careful not to disturb any of the stitches in the rows above or below the one that I'm unpicking. And this is easy, it's just tedious, like the rest of sweater surgery. Easy, but tedious. Now, once the top is completely removed from the bottom, I unraveled the entire section I wanted to be removed. Pippin made this process far more interactive.
Damn, feeling lucky. Out above most streets, us two in these trees. Diamonds on my feet, caught up in these talks. Circling my head top, should have been more cautious. Now I got what I wanted. Many have been here before, made it out of 11 more. Like my frontal cortex, so I can't stop. I want it all. Listen up, I'm calling you.
I marked the beginning of the round and unraveled exactly one round. This is the yarn I'm going to use to sew the top and bottom sweater pieces back together. I spent about 3 hours repeating the same process. Go in through the front of one stitch and out through the back of the next stitch. It's basically a duplicate stitch if you've ever done that before. In through the front, out through the back. And the ramen noodle yarn actually helps me tension properly. Little kinks in it help guide how tight to pull the yarn as I'm sewing it through. I repeat the same process on the bottom. In through the front, out through the back, pull an insane amount of yarn through. I move a lot faster once I'm able to get a little bit of a head start done on it, but sweater surgery is always going to be one of those things that just takes time. Moving on to finishing the rest of the body, I have spent the past few days working my way through about 3 more inches on the body of the sweater, and I'm thinking I'm just about ready to start on the ribbing, which means I am dangerously close to finishing this thing. Did we get a good job? Yes. Who did we marry? You'll never guess. Okay, in a weird way, that kind of makes sense. We're really happy too. Did we get a dog? Nope. 2 cats. But we hate cats. Not anymore. Did we get a tattoo? I've always wanted one, but I'm too scared. We got lots of tattoos. Did we move somewhere cool? Very cool. Are we happy? Most days. Are we still, good. You know how we always like making crafts? We get way better at it. What kind of things do we make? I like making sweaters. I made the one that I'm wearing and the one that you're wearing. No way. What else? Right now I'm working on a quilt. I still need to finish it. Do you want to see? Yeah. I've been working on it for almost 2 years now. I think it's the last time I'll ever try hand stitching a quilt. We're so close to finishing it. It's driving me crazy. Where'd she go? As you can see, I am almost done with the quilt, and I finished the part that made me the most nervous, which was doing all this stitching on the top, because when I do it with my machine, it always turns up looking really gross. Doing it by hand, was it worth it? I don't know. Maybe. I like it, but I wouldn't do it again. So I'm glad I've taken the step that made me the most anxious and finished it out of the way. And we're now on to the step that has made me the second most nervous, which is doing the binding around the edges. I am doing a new strategy this time. New to me. I'm sure it's very simple, but I'm just going to fold over the edge and sew it down. I want to commit to all the visible stitches on this quilt being hand sewn. We'll see how much I regret that. I'm honestly just procrastinating at this point. I'm going to take it one little baby step at a time. So next baby step is cutting off the excess batting. I can do that. And then the baby step after that is not even that hard, which is cutting the excess fabric to be a more consistent size all the way around, because I do not need 4 inches of fabric to make my edge. I need like maybe an inch of fabric. Okay, I can do this. You know what? I can do this. I know I can. I don't know where all this anxiety is coming from. I am really glad that this is just a lap blanket and not a full-on bed blanket quilt, because I don't think I would have survived doing that. I can already tell Pippin's gonna spend so much time curled up on this blanket. This also feels like a really good summer picnic blanket. I need to stop procrastinating. Oh my goodness. I ended up swatching 3 different stitch techniques to see which one felt most physically comfortable to do, and also what looked best with the existing stitches I have on here. Go figure, I decided to stick with these stitches that match the stitches on the rest of the blanket. Working along the edge of the quilt ended up being far less, let's say, finicky than stitching sections that are further into the blanket, so I found the edge to be a lot more therapeutic. All said and done, it probably took me about 2 days to sew down the entire edge, and the quilt is finally finished.